welcome back to another Quarry Tech video. I've heard that I'm making really long videos, so I'm gonna keep it very brief this time. So in this video, I'm gonna go through the latest version, the V2.5, the latest bedrock quarry that I actually made. This is a really old machine that I have had working for about 2 months in Sci Craft. It was finished and finished the job in Sci Craft, so it removed all of the bedrock in the whole 1000 by 1000 perimeter. But I didn't make a video because I was just lazy. But this is the machine, and it's a little bit different from the previous one that was 2.0. This is the 2.0 that I'm standing next to, and this has been shown before. But what is different from V2.5 to V2? This one is 2.0. This one is 2.5. What is different is the height difference. I removed this butt chain, which is horrible. It's literally the worst thing to have in a machine. It kept breaking for random reasons that I couldn't explain. I replaced it with a simple observer chain that just propagates and then crushes the eggs. And I also did a major improvement in the front here, where it's got movable rail systems that I got help from ITA to design and finish. There was also some small upgrades to the other parts of the machine. The back here had to change, obviously. There is a lot more pistons, sadly. And obviously pistons are a horrible thing to have in a slime contraption that you need to rebuild all over and over. It's not like a quarry where you just build it once. You have to rebuild this machine over and over, and sometimes it breaks. Which it did. It broke a lot of times, and I had to repair it. And mining all those pistons, I wish there was a way to mine them faster. But this is this is probably the test cases for improving the V2.5. And here I was assembling it, and this is probably the finished product. Yeah, this is it. And the difference between this V2.5 and V2 is the rail system. That is the major improvement. That also needed a different way to drop the eggs. The biggest problem was that you had to build an initial rail design on the side that took a lot of time with a bunch of materials that I can go to on somewhere on spawn here, which took a lot of time to build. And initially when you build something like this, you only need to push it once forward. Then all this extra blocks, they're just wasting a bunch of time where you could just do something else. This type of rail has to be reused multiple times, so that's perfectly fine for the V1.5 version that is over here. But if you want to just go for a simple one-directional machine that is 2.0, then a movable rail is making more sense, and that's why the whole redesign had to be done. And this is the first time I tested it. This is 2.5 when I tested it. There is a test bed here. I try to see if it works, and rails work. They update properly, and there is probably a couple of test beds here. I was trying to design a way to get the eggs properly drop on the rails. That's it. Just to show off the rail system, how it works. I mean, I could rake. Let me just go to single player. This is the regular rail system that you probably see attached. I've detached it. And so if you push it, the whole butt chain sort of makes it so that these rails get pushed without duping. This is really important because they can't dupe. If they dupe, then they will have rails on top of the track, and the player can pick them up, and that's not good at all. You can't have a single rail dupe, which is a major problem actually. You can actually make the system with duping rails much easier. All of the rails update at the same time, so no rail duping, and there is no gaps, so that you can actually, so when you're riding on with a minecart, you don't accidentally fall into a gap. So that was really important. And designing this was done by me and Ita. Would design it, I don't know, sometime in about 2-3 months ago. The simplified and drop system, much easier to build. You don't need the sandstone at the bottom. You can place the red stone line directly on the bedrock. So it makes it much simpler. And it's a simple shulker unloading system. You fill these chests with a bunch of shulkers. I mean, it's been shown before. And this is the last thing I wanted to also show. This is an improved version of the manual dropper. This is the manual dropper 1.0. And then I just did a 2.0, which is flat, which is easier to operate because you you go here, stand here, and you place your eggs. I mean, it's easier to place them like this and then jump on top of them and place the next row. And then when you reach the point where you have placed your last row and you're standing on this row of eggs, you just flick this trapdoor. And what I did was I actually had two characters, one standing at the very edge of the render distance, lazy chunk loading this chunk. Then you can just simply log out and log back in. The problem was that if you do that, it's really quick. The machine is actually super fast. The eggs get dropped instantly, and then you can log back in. It takes about 5 seconds. But after driving this manual dropper for about 200, 300 blocks, I started to notice some weird effects where the client didn't actually try to log into the server, but I got booted multiple times. So I'm strongly advising not to use this machine to log in and out. If you want to drive this manual dropper for more than 200 blocks or so, try to find a different alternative solution to dropping eggs and removing bedrock roofs. Maybe there is like banners. You can use like the banner setup, a very simple banner setup. Just use banners if you want to do smaller patches. And there is also an alternative melon system. I can actually log into Sci Craft and show that. This is the melon setup that probably has been shown by Minerva. I think Mr. Beast showed it in his video. This is the design, I think, by Nuke from Minerva server. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on it, but I think this is his design. So you can just place a bunch of melons using, I don't know, you can use Schematica to place melons. I mean, it's super easy, and then place eggs on top. And you need a more simplified slime pushing mechanism in the back here. And then the slime probably extends to the far reaches of the lazy chunks. I think they showed a video on it. I'm not going to go into it. I'm going to just link it. If you want to remove something like about 100 by 100 area, this isn't a bad alternative, or the version 2 manual dropper. Either one works. But if you want to go for a larger patch, like let's say 200 by 200, using the manual dropper isn't exactly, it's either no fun or anything like that. And using banners when you're trying to build something like a 200 by 200 is almost impossible, because you're either going to have to make small patches that you remove with banners, and you have to pick the banners up, and you have to reuse them, and it's an expensive resource, and you can't exactly use Schematica when you want to print the banners. I mean, alternatively, you could just use melons like this. Why not just go for the melons for about a 200 by 200 perimeter? But if you want to make an automated system where you just turn on the machine and you go completely AFK, then obviously 2.5 is probably the best machine. And the one downside to it is that it's really unstable. The machine is really finicky, and it just takes a very few bad, I don't know, unknown random events on the server to crash your machine. Yeah, just some final words for this machine, the version 2.5. I would say that it's similar to the other ones. It's very much more stable than 2.0, and probably easier to operate than version 1.5, because you don't have to take the whole machine backwards and forwards and drive the whole machine 5 times to remove all the layers of the bedrock. The one issue is that with all the machines is that there is a player involved, and players, they're not exactly reliable, and you're placing eggs against fences, and your computer can crash. Random events can cause random things to happen, because you're not just dealing with a server and predictable slime block mechanisms. You're actually playing with a client that connects to the server, and ping delays and everything that can go wrong with it. So it's a really unstable machine. So I would recommend, if anyone wants to build and trying to use this thing, that you actually try to get a computer that is as close to the server as possible. So if you're living in, like, let's say, Europe and you have a server in the US, you might actually want to get someone that lives in the US to run a bot to place the eggs. And you definitely need a auto clicker to operate this. And I've heard that in 1.13 they're even removing the F11 trick, so you can't even do that. So auto clickers is probably the only option left. One other last thing that might be good to know before trying to operate or build one of these machines is that try not to create like an overly large area. Don't try to dig out a perimeter of 1,000 by 1,000 like on Sci Craft. Try to actually operate the machine in a smaller area, like let's say 200 by 200 or 250 by 250 perimeter, and just test out the machine before going crazy. Because what I understood from doing a 1,000 by 1,000 perimeter was that the current 2.5 version isn't sufficient. If you want to go for a good large 1,000 by 1,000 perimeter, then you need a faster machine. And actually doing melons with multiple people, like the thing that Minerva is doing, is probably a little more easier for the collective than having one person responsible to drop all the eggs. It is a lot more stressful to have the machine also break down and you have to repair it, because this machine has so many pistons that it takes a lot of time to break down all these pistons and replace them. Final thing that I wanted to just show, or as a sneak preview, is a machine that I've been working on, a third version, the 3.0 version, which is going to be the final version. It's going to have autosave detectors and looping rails. So it's a complicated mechanism that has been like in the works, and it probably will be designed sometime in the future. But right now it's still not unassembled, and there is components that are missing. So sometime in the future, look forward to 3.0, I guess. Hope you enjoyed that. There will be a world download in the description, so you can actually download this world with the machine that is the 2.5 version that you can find from spawn. You just travel in that direction over there. There we will find, over here, you can find the 2.5 version, and it's similar to the other worlds that you have seen before. All the other contraptions here are similar. There is a couple of things that I probably forgot to mention about the machine that you will probably have to figure out on your own. The last thing I want to mention is that the machine is actually, all these machines are based on observers, and Forge client wrecks all the observers. That's why the last version of the previous world broke the observers on these machines. I had to fix it using MCEdit. So if you want to actually test out this world, don't use Forge, or if you do use Forge, just stick to Forge. Anyways, that was that. Hope you enjoyed. Bye.